and we will take a deep dive into our conversation around energy security. And this morning, as our nation navigates the complexity of fuel subsidy removal, one thing that is clear is the need for alternative energy solution that has never been more than before, more pressing as it is. Rising cost of transportation, escalating living expense, and environmental concerns have brought the compressed natural gas into focus. Can the CNG be the game changer for Nigeria? Today, on Beyond Fossil Fuel, Nigeria's CNG potentials and its challenges, we would examine CNG's potential to reduce transportation costs and elevate the burden on the average Nigerian, the infrastructure and investment requirement for a widespread CNG adoption across the country, the policy support and regulatory frameworks needed to drive Nigeria's energy transition, and international best practice in CNG implementation. Joining us in the studio is a CNG expert, Dr. Mohammed Bawa Garba, and together we would explore the opportunities and obstacles facing Nigeria's CNG ambition. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you join us in the studio.
Thank you.
The whole conversation around CNG, comes to an average Nigerian as a suspect. It's like a perfect excuse for the government to implement its long, canvassed fuel subsidy removal, which is a conversation for another day. But in the heat of all of these announcements were promises around widespread CNG adoption, starting with the government, the buses in the metropolis were supposed to be powered by CNG that would in turn drive down the cost of transportation, and then the widespread promise of creating adoption centers and making it affordable for the average Nigerian. But that seemed to look like a mirage, 1 year since that announcement. Talk us through what exactly you think is happening in that space.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I will start by saying that we've spent 60, 70 years using petrol, diesel and the rest. CNG is a new alternative to these things that have been around for a long time, and of course those conventional means of fueling, the petrol, the diesel, have already established infrastructure. When you start a new product, you have to have the infrastructure to carry it. I don't think it is just a way for government to remove the subsidy. That subsidy was inevitable, it had to go. There was no way we could sustain living that lifestyle. But CNG happens to be the best alternative for alternative fueling, because we have it abound in Nigeria. Nigeria, like I've said in many instances, and is a fact, is a gas nation. We have many more times gas than we do oil. And CNG being gas and with minimum dollar-based requirements makes it an alternative.
What do you mean by minimum dollar-based requirement?
Good. At the moment, our petroleum products, whether it's petrol, diesel, LPG, all crude-based items are being taken out, refined, and then brought back. So that makes it dollar-based, because that taken out, bringing back is all dollar related. While CNG is localized because it's natural gas. There is when I said minimum, because of course there is some dollar component in the installation of the equipment for the filtration and so on. And of course the kit itself for conversion of vehicles are all at the moment imported. So those are also dollar related, but it's an inconsequential percentage of dollars compared to what is being spent on importing refined products. Apart from that, CNG happens to be a cleaner energy. I would like to maybe address the topic it's not right to say that CNG is not a fossil fuel. It is also a fossil fuel, but it's a cleaner, better fossil fuel because it has minimal carbons in it. It burns better. It's a much better arrangement for the environment. And like I said, we have plenty of it in Nigeria because Nigeria is a gas nation as against an oil nation.
Yeah, but if we still have dollars involved, like you said, the conversion kit is still in dollars, aren't we still playing the same tune? Because over time, we see the fluctuation of the naira. Won't it still affect Nigerians at the end of the day?
Two things. What do you want to do? You want to continue with the petrol and the gas and being heavily in debt by subsidizing, or put in the infrastructure to make these things that are being used for conversion locally. And what the president in his wisdom did was to create an initiative, a government body that is actually now a limited liability company so that they can function effectively. That's the Presidential Committee on CNG initiative, to drive this thing, to make sure that it is sustainable, and to make sure that all angles of the infrastructure is covered. So you have two options: continue with the life we were doing before, which is not sustainable, or look for one that has minimal dollar investment and is sustainable. And it is also with other Nigerian government establishment and private sectors looking inwards to see how we can make those kits locally. Well, I mean, Rome was not built in one day. You can't just switch automatically in a day. It's you are taking the lesser evil, and apart from way better solution than continuing what we were doing before.
So, given how cheap we can ramp up the production of CNG, why are we not seeing the kind of scale? I understand the whole conversation around Rome was not built in a day, but now that we have decided that this is the path we want to travel, it does appear that the progress is rather very slow compared to the scale of the problem, and so we are not seeing the kind of impact we should see, especially on cost of public transportation, or even bring down energy costs, say for a building like the Daily Trust plant, because half the time you have to depend on private power source than the public power source. Why are we not seeing that kind of adoption with regards to scale?
If you speak with the commercial drivers, you speak with the hail riders, they will tell you there has been a significant progress. This time last year, there were only 7 conversion centers in the whole of Nigeria. At the moment, we have over 200 of those conversion centers. This time last year, there were less than 5,000 cars using CNG. At the moment, you have close to 100,000 cars using CNG. It takes time. I assure you, if we have this discussion by the end of this year, you will see and you will know that there has been more that has been done, because a lot of the goods that have brought, as I said, it's a whole value chain. So there's some infrastructures that were missing, and the Presidential Committee on CNG initiative, private sector like ourselves, have invested in those infrastructures. It takes time for them to get here, but I'm happy to tell you a lot of those infrastructures are either here being cleared at the moment or almost here. So I want to assure you that by early next year, it will be a different tune, because penetration would have increased.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Now, let's talk about the technical aspect of it now. Are there specific models of vehicles that are acceptable to the CNG? Are they, let's educate Nigerians a bit more on that. Are there specific models of vehicles that tend to benefit more from conversion to CNG?
Good question. First of all, any petrol-driven vehicle can more or less be converted. All we need to do is to inspect the vehicles, then it will be from the inspection. You will now know if it's a 4-plug engine. This is the kit for it. If it's a 6-plug engine, that's a V6. This is the kit for it. A V8. This is the kit for it. A GDI. Is it a carburetor? Is it injector driven? These are factors that within 10 minutes, if you come to any of the combustion centers, within 10 minutes they will assess and tell you these are the kind of kits you need. This is the size of cylinder you need for your vehicle, and this is what it will cost you to do the conversion. But practically any vehicle can be converted, especially petrol-driven vehicles. Diesel-driven vehicles, trucks, big buses, they are a bit more complicated to convert. So only specialized centers can handle those ones at the moment. We're ramping up on the skills and the number of personnel that are being trained. As I speak with you right now, I just came from Adoikiti yesterday. Right now, there are people undergoing training on conversion in Adoikiti. We've had 2 trainings here in Abuja. Kaduna is coming up next. Kano after Kaduna. And all this that we are doing, there are other core partners of CNG that are also replicating same. So that's why I'm assuring you that by next year, it will be a different story.
For the average Nigerian, just like our viewers that are watching you from their houses, the next question in their mind would be, of course, what would it cost them to convert? We hear all kinds of prices flying, and sometimes you wonder whether they are charging you to replace your car or to put some components in the car. Can you give us a sense of what it will cost them to do these conversions? And in the current kind of arrangements that we have, are they things that they can procure gradually or make instrumental payments for, so that the burden of this conversion can be lighter, especially for people who have confirmed incomes and places of work? And the other question, the second question I would like you to take side by side, is also, for some who can afford it, is also the concern around safety. They see that cylinders in their boot, and I mean, if you've been around where a cylinder accident is not something, it's a memory that never goes off your mind, and all. So there are concerns around safety. You know, how safe is this technology for the average Nigerian to adopt?
Okay, let me take the last part first, because it's always the concern, and I understand why the concern is there. We are a country that has come out from the use of LPG, that's a liquefied petroleum gas, cooking gas.
That's right.
And like you said, if anybody experiences that exploding, you don't want to even see a cylinder. However, this is a totally different type of fueling, totally different type of cylinder. One CNG cylinder weighs 5 or 6 times an LPG cylinder. And what is the weight all about? It's about the reinforcement and the casing of the cylinder to make it near bulletproof. Yes. Maybe after the show I can show you. I have in my car, you can see. So safety is not an issue here. One. Number two, LPG, as the name implies, liquid petroleum gas, has liquid content in it. That's number one. Its flare point, the point at which it catches fire, is quite low. If there's LPG gas in this room now, even a spark is enough to ignite. CNG is the opposite. The flare point of CNG is over 600 degrees Celsius. So if you have CNG in this room now, for it to ignite, you need 600 degrees Celsius. And for just to make it elementary, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So you need 6 times boiling water temperature to ignite CNG. So the possibility of it catching fire is very remote. That's one. It has to be like in a lab situation. Number two, when people talk about safety of CNG cylinder in their boot, people are sitting on petrol tanks. When you sit in the back seat of your car, the tank of the petrol is under you. And petrol has also a flash point, much lower, much lower, less than 100 degrees to ignite. So safety, I would tell viewers to go to sleep on CNG. Additionally, if for any reason there is a mistake or an accident in CNG and the gas leaks out, the natural gas is lighter than air. So what happens is it just evaporates into thin air. That's it. Whereas, go back to again LPG, if it leaks, first of all, it's dense because there's some liquid contents in it. So it sits. And that's why when it ignites, it is not a good sight to see. So safety-wise, you can go to sleep. 75 countries now in the world are actually using CNG as an alternative to petrol or diesel. And safety should not be a concern for Nigerians using CNG. You can be rest assured on that. I would, however, insist though that please, when you want to convert your vehicle, go to accredited conversion centers. Please do not go to quacks. We have said it's safe. That doesn't mean that you should just deliberately go and look for trouble and get it installed wrongly. The National Automotive Design and Development Council, NADDC, is the government approved body to accredit any CNG conversion center. And like I said earlier, PCNGI, the committee instituted by Mr. President, is there for any steering or any guidance on CNG matters. Then coming back to the first question, cost. Because the kits itself at the moment are dollar-based. That's why you are not hearing one price. If dollar is 1,000 today, this is the price. If it's 1,600, this is the price. However, PCNGI, and if you go, I'll check what the website is. The PCNGI already have worked with some other avenues of government, with some banks. They have created an enabling environment where people who have steady incomes can spread the payment of acquiring this CNG conversion in your vehicles. The private sector as well, like our company and all the other some of the other conversion centers have worked out some structures where you can spread payments, and we are offering that to the public. Of course, we are starting with people who are engaged in employments where there is a monthly stream, verifiable stream of income. So we're trying in all ways to see how we can make it affordable and easy for Nigerians to own and convert from petrol or gas to CNG. Government on its part has also seen, because whether you like it or not, once you drive a petrol-driven vehicle, at the back end, government is subsidizing for you. It is costing government, it is taking a big toll on our foreign exchange. So government is wanting everybody to switch from those other fossil fuels to CNG. So it is doing its part to incentivize and encourage people to convert to CNG.
Yeah, but
now regarding, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. You know, they said the sweet things are at the end. So figure-wise, at the moment, it ranges, and don't forget, we also can do even the keke, the tricycles. Anything that is petrol-driven can be done.
All right.
Even diesel-driven can be done, but like I said, diesel is a bit more complicated. So focus right now is on petrol. So it starts, if it's a tricycle, about 750,000, and then for cars, starts from 1.1 to 1.4 at my center. I believe everybody else will be in the same price range. Yes. If you go to a quack, they will go and get you some kits that may not be standardized, and then we have issues, and you end up being at the mechanic every other day, which is not what you would want. So like I said though, there is payment plans that are being put in place so that it can become affordable and accessible by Nigerians.
All right. Some more technical questions Nigeria would like clarity about before we round up, which is, when you do this conversion, does it completely take you out of the use of petrol? Because we understand that the cylinders have range, and we know that the fueling stations are not as broadly scattered as we have with the petrol stations. So what exactly happens when this conversion is done?
It's a good point. That's why whenever I attend interviews like this, I try to say that the word conversion is being wrongly used, especially when it comes to petrol. It's actually an addition.
Okay.
Because your petrol system stays, a CNG system is brought in. There's a switch, which I will also demonstrate to you downstairs, where you switch from petrol to CNG. We're all aware that the infrastructure is not as robust as the other fuels at the moment, especially when it comes to refueling, the stations where you can go and refill. So that is why, at the moment, if you go where there is no CNG, continue using your petrol. If you are in places where there is CNG, you switch back to your CNG. Here in Abuja, at the moment there are 2 filling stations, and just to buttress the part that where you said that people are not aware, 2 months ago, I could just drive in, fill my tank, and move. Right now, if you go to those 2 filling stations, you have to queue because the number of CNG vehicles have increased tremendously.
Okay.
But the good news again is that NNPC Retail has built 5 conversion centers, 5 refueling centers here in Abuja, and I think 8 in Lagos, and they have them all in a lot of places. So the moment they have been commissioned, so we're just waiting for them to start dispensing, and that will now take off the queue and make the CNG more accessible.
All right. I wish we could keep Doctor in the studio for longer than we have expected, but you know, this is a business of time. Time is essential. We have other guests waiting on Zoom for our next segment. I would like to thank you very much for finding time to be here. I know how busy your schedule can be, especially at the time when everybody is seeking all kinds of clarifications around CNG. You are the people who would help us demystify that sector and encourage the kind of onboarding that would lead to the kind of adoption that this country is looking forward to. We have been talking with a CNG expert, Dr. Mohammed Bawa Garba, who has shed more light around adoption, around safety, technicalities, and expansion, and the expectations generally around as we rev up, you know, the usage of CNG in Nigeria. Once again, thank you very much for finding time to be here.
Thank you for joining us.